Welcome back to the pews. It is I, your host, Preacher. And today, this morning, we have some numbers. How do you get a job as a video game analyst? Because I'm doing this shit for free at this point. For the love of the game. But we have some numbers, you know what I mean? I figure most of you guys have already seen these numbers, but let me bring them up here. Now, this is from Derek Strickland, who's with Tweaktown, actually. And this is one of those things where you gotta watch where you get your news and who you get it from. I know Derek Strickland is a sort of a grifter, you know what I mean? He positions his articles in a salacious way. So the news he ran with for the headline is Sony has made at least $2.37 billion from selling first-party games and content on PC and Xbox, right? And that's true, he's not lying, but he positioned that as the headline in a way to get people going. You know what I mean? And it did. It got people going. Motherfuckers was going off on this one. Oh, here comes day and date, 2.37 billion. It's over. Multi-platform confirmed. All that shit. But the real financial analysts and some intrepid fans actually dug up the past numbers and put this number into context. So we have Nib here, always a great source for this kind of stuff. And he puts that number again into context. That's 1.5% of the revenue they've made since their first PC port. You know what I mean? So you look at it, right? They dropped Horizon Zero Dawn in 2020, right? Dropped it on PC. And it honestly banged, if I remember correctly. But, that year they made 20 billion. And that's only 3/4 of the quarters. I don't know, he just couldn't get the other one or something. But that's only 3/4 of the quarters they made 20 bill. You know what I mean? Next year, 24. Next year, 26. Next year, 29. Next year, 30. Next year, 24. 3/4 of the quarters again. I don't know why. Maybe something's going on with that. But totaling 155 billion with 2 quarters mysteriously missing. I don't know where they're at. 155.4 billion, as opposed to all of the PC games they've sold, everything they've sold on Xbox, to include Helldivers, and that hasn't really returned. You know what I mean? That doesn't equate nearly as much as they make by selling consoles and selling exclusive content. It just doesn't. It dwarfs it, and really goes to show how much folly was ever in saying PlayStation is going day and date on PC. You know what I mean? Unless they drop their launcher. And to be fair, the day one drops, like the day one of a new Spider-Man game versus you porting it later, that's going to be a different number. But unless, again, this just shows that PlayStation has to be in no rush to go to PC day and date. They're just not in a rush. I'm not going to say they won't do it, because if they put out a launcher, there's no reason not to. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with these games going day and date on a PlayStation launcher if they're keeping it in the ecosystem. That makes sense. And it's not, I don't even care if they do it day and date on PC on Steam. You know what I mean? That wouldn't affect how I game. But I'm saying from a standpoint of keeping the ecosystem unified, you know what I mean? They're going to want to collect 100% on those game copies they sell. If they put them out on their launcher, they do. And that wouldn't make sense for them to go day and date on PC. I don't think it makes sense for them as a whole to go day and date on PC, though, even with a launcher, because, that does devalue your console. And look how much they're making with the console. You know what I mean? Trying to chase those PC sales, they will come. That's no question. They'll come. But what might you lose in that transition? You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people say PlayStation copies Xbox. I think PlayStation watches what Xbox does, because Xbox is spinning wildly out of control, and they got to try all these different kinds of things, and some of them work. Okay, we're gonna take a little bit of that. Oh, damn, that service. You know what I mean? We got to answer that somehow. Well, PlayStation Plus, not as good. You know what I mean? Y'all niggas not getting day one games. Certainly not. But it's a decent service. I like PlayStation Plus. You know what I mean? Trophies. Had to dig deep. Trophies. But, you know, I think that might be something that they're watching and they're seeing. Okay, Xbox is everywhere. They're launching everywhere. They're putting everything everywhere. And that just means it's not getting traction everywhere. Like, and they can even look at that and turn it around on their games and be like, okay, our game certainly wouldn't end up like Outer Worlds 2. That's not going to happen. But, you know, even so, they're seeing, okay, that's not really, you know, the juice isn't worth the squeeze compared to how comfortable we are here. It makes more sense for them to take that as Yoshida, after he left Sony, he did an interview with KF. I think this was like 2 years ago now, and he even said, yeah, putting it out on PC, that's like printing money. You know what I mean? No, actually, I think he said that about remakes. I'm not sure. But either way, you know what I mean? Them putting out PC ports, they bought Nixxes to do that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Even certain live service games on Xbox, like Marathon and Helldivers, you know what I mean? I think they are in such a strong position that they can just pick and choose whatever they want to do. And it's not really like let's say PlayStation decides to put Fair Games, right? This game doesn't have a release date or nothing. But when they drop the release date, Xbox logo. Xbox dudes are gonna go crazy. Oh, multi-plat. Nah. Nah. PlayStation is in such a good position that they can be like, here, just take that one. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. Because when you know, God of War Ancient China comes out, I promise niggas ain't getting that. When fucking Horizon 3 comes out, promise niggas ain't getting that. Y'all didn't even get the Hunter's Gathering, you know what I mean? Which I'm almost a little shocked at. But they said, nope, no Horizon on Xbox, period. So, I just think that's these numbers very clearly show that PlayStation is extremely comfortable in the place that they're in. Day and date on PC was never a strong idea. It didn't work out well for Xbox. Like, day and date on PC only changed Xbox's identity. It didn't really like blow them up. You know, it's not like Xbox games are huge on PC. Motherfuckers rob y'all for Game Pass. Console dudes who bought in paying more for Game Pass than Xbox PC. Like, I don't know. That whole thing seems like a mess to me. But regardless, looking at all this, looking at this video, I gotta go back upstairs and play some Neo 3, boy. Them boys starving. I gotta balance between Karen and Neo 3. I'm eating good. This year's gonna be nuts. You can already tell the energy's good. Energy's real good. But that's gonna do it for me, y'all. I appreciate you always coming by. My name is Preacher, and I do so hope to see you right back here on the pews.